There we go. Hello, everybody. We are live here on Enlightened Circles. We're live on Facebook, Enlightened Circles. We're live on YouTube, Enlightened Circles. If you guys like this and you want to be with us, come on, join us, join in. I have beautiful news tonight. We are actually here with an amazing thing to be talking about. You know, we have burnout. Burnout goes ahead and like will share all of us in a different dark space and depressed space, anxiety space. Burnout comes in so many different ways. And I have my beautiful, amazing friend from the UK, who's just one of my soul sisters, lovely person. We met in India when we were both speaking in 2017. But the beautiful, fabulous Sarah Ross, and she's a burnout recovery strategist who is here tonight so we can all talk, we can all share. For you, I know it's super early in the morning, Sarah, and for any of your friends that are following you, watching you, that they woke up early to be here or stayed up late, welcome from everyone from the UK. And any of those of you in Europe, the UK that watch us later, welcome. Anyone who watches this in the States, Canada, wherever you are in the world, Japan, Australia, welcome, welcome, welcome. To each of you here live with us and everyone that watches this later. But we want to talk about burnout. We really want to get into some topics. We want to get into some issues. You guys know here on Enlightened Circles, if you have some comments, I am using StreamYard, so grant the permissions. I will be pulling in some comments throughout, so Sarah and I can bring them up on the screen, share them with our audience so we can all have a much more enticing conversation, a much more real conversation. Sarah and I could sit here and talk all day, but at that rate too, here with you guys. So we want to talk about burnout. What drives each and every single one of you to burnout? Put it in the comments. Join us from whatever platform you're on. I want you guys to be sharing. I'm going to make sure my privacy, although I changed it earlier today, I still want to double check that the privacy is good on my personal page, so that those of you guys who are putting the comments on the personal page can write in with us as well. So shout out to us. Let us know you're here. But Sarah, talk to us. Why are you a burnout recovery strategist? This is COVID-19. I am telling you, all of us have been stressed out. All of us have had anxiety. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with, and it's definitely a burnout time. So, talk to us about, I know why you're here, but share with us a little bit more about what you do and why you do it.
So, yeah, thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Burnout recovery strategist, because I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and my passion is that nobody else should ever get to the point that I was at. And my burnout took me to actually choosing the day on which I would end my own life. Now, this isn't something that happens overnight. You don't one day think I'm 100% and the next day go, I'm completely burnt out, I'm done. And, for me, it was probably best part of 3 years that had kind of built up where I just wasn't looking after myself, and then things started to happen in my life and with my health. But actually the underlying piece of I wasn't making me a priority in my life. Yes. I wasn't looking after myself, and I was grasping for things, or only looking at things in my life that were not actually that good for me, but they kept me able to keep doing my job. And that's kind of where we find ourselves now, is that yes, we were all stressed before COVID-19, but now we've been isolated. We've had to spend 24/7 with people, family, friends, housemates, whatever, who we normally spent like 4 hours a day with. Hi, so good morning, see you this evening. Hi, have dinner. How was your day, love? And that was it. And suddenly we've got to spend 24 hours together. And for a lot of people, there's no space. There's no separate room. So not only are you spending 24 hours together, you're in a very enclosed space. And if you were here in the UK, you were only allowed out once a day. Now, that's pretty much like prison, an hour around the yard. or not even that. It was like, it was supposed to be 30 minutes or exercise, or you could go to the doctors, or you could get groceries, but you were primarily locked down.
Well, and I think, like that's one thing. Everyone had different things going on wherever they prospectively lived around the country, around around their country, prospective countries in their prospective states, the prospective part of this world, right? Everybody had different rules, regulations. There was, if you live rurally more so like I do, I wasn't as constrained or bound because I've got plenty of weeds to go pull outside, do certain things. I would still go to the grocery store like normal. So a lot of my life, and then plus doing a lot of my work virtually anyways prior, a lot of my normal day-to-day life didn't necessarily change. Plus all the family businesses, medical doctors, dental, veterinarian, they were considered, in agriculture, it was all considered essential work. So all of my immediate family members, parents, brothers, sisters, were still all going to work because we were all essential workers. Mm-hmm. So those kinds of lives didn't change. Other people who really had to be indoors, who live in flat apartments, right? You're in the city, you don't have the parks, you're accessible now, you don't have certain things, and now you're limited to only like 30 minutes a day to be out walking around. That's really something rough and crazy, and that can take you down some rabbit holes.
Yeah, and I think it also, so take all of those factors and then add on top of that, suddenly I am having to make decisions about my own safety and maybe my family that could result in me catching something that could kill me.
Yes.
And something that the world does not know enough about for me to be certain that it will or won't. And that's, so we go into that whole pressure cooker of everybody being locked down, quarantined, stay at home, shelter in place, all the different names for basically what was do not move around. And then as we start to come out the other end, people still have those questions, because is it safe for my children to go back to school? Is it safe for me to be outside longer than 30 minutes? Do I want to be outside? And then we had a whole load of people furloughed from work and are suddenly recalled to work. Now they're not essential workers. But it's like, yeah, but I felt safe at home. I may not have liked who I was with, or, there was stress there, but it's more stressful for me to now have to get on a bus, go to the office, be in an office and socially distanced. And I'm now more risk by going to work than I would be if I just worked from home. And for the last 3 months, I've managed to work from home.
Right.
So you kind of like, it's almost like short-circuiting. No matter what you're thinking about, there is something where the fight or flight response is firing like fireworks on 4th of July.
No, it's true. And I think I've seen with clients, people I work with, family members, friends, etc., even friends around the world, I had seen right before the whole new year was coming in, before COVID-19 hit and we had this pandemic, like you said, for a lot of people, that's especially business, and that's a lot of the end of their tax season, even though like taxes aren't until April 15th, but you just had the holidays, right? And when do people usually get stressed out? Come on, you guys are here. You're on Enlightened Circles. Put your comments in if you like, and let's share them. But honestly, when do we stress out? It's around major holidays, and that's like in the States and Canada, Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you've got Hanukkah, you've got all these different things. So end of the year, plus it's the end of your year with tax season, you're trying to vacation. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like cold, you got to stay indoors. So that's creating already that depression and everything else. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's your summer, but still you guys are kind of like, wait, I'm in summer, but it's my end of my year and I got to move this calendar forward and everything else. So there's a lot, plus you're celebrating Christmas. It's a lot of different things that happen around that time. Then you go into, in the States and different places as well, in the spring, you go into tax season. So you're finally, and you had the New Year. So you had all these holiday lineups, end of the year, you got to make every Christmas party you possibly can of family, friends, business. Before you know it, you don't even want to celebrate anything. I mean, I always like to celebrate everything, but the majority of people don't like to celebrate anything. You're already stressed out. So you didn't even want to celebrate it, taking the joy out of it. And then it's tax season. So now you have a lot of different separations and things coming because you're barely holding it together. And you think, oh my God, I'm coming into tax season. And then we got hit by some major crazy pandemic that no one was expecting. And it's a financial recession that hits us. It's not just the health pandemic, it's a financial recession that hits us as well. So how was it we normally, you probably, especially in your business, see these different cycles with your reason to breathe that you utilize. And you normally are dealing with people with a regular burnout from the year. And then now we have this pandemic, like you said, and now we become claustrophobic. We're inside. We don't get to be outside. We don't get to be part of our normal self. We don't get to feel the sun, which naturally doesn't allow us to have so much melatonin. Now we're indoors and we don't have all lights and studio lights and all the jazz to keep us awake and keep us going. We have darker houses. Melatonin kicks in. And now we're even more depressed than we were for that whole New Year's, Christmas season. Now we're shut indoors. We're shut indoors with loved ones who we love, but now we're not sure, do we really love them or not? Or how do I balance it? We're homeschooling for those parents. We're going through kinds of things. And now everyone out there that you guys usually tip in because your energies, you're already feeling a little bit of, like we say in Spanish, congoja. You're feeling a little claustrophobic as I talk. And I'm purposely talking this way with everyone here so we can get ourselves back in that mindset. And I'm not trying to bring the fear mindset back in. I want us to realize those energies, right? Everybody realize those energies you've been dealing with the past. Actually, it's not just the 6 months because we're in July, right? Going into the 7th month of the year. It was 3 months prior with all these holidays. So for the last 9 months, you've been dealing with this stress, anxiety, and burnout issues. So that being said, we've seen tons of divorce. It's a great time if you're a family lawyer to be an entrepreneurial right now and embark upon this in the financial recession. It's a great time for other people in those formats. But what are some tips or tools to get us out of that cycle? Because 9 months of doing something, that starts to create habits. And when you're 9 months into something now, how do we start to change our mindset to release that? I mean, I'll get into the energetic part here with you too, which everybody on here, Sarah's a beautiful, lovely, intuitive, amazing, fabulous person as well. So she'll get into that with us as well. But how do we start to change those mindsets so we're not stuck on burnout now for the next 9 years? Because once we form a habit, like they say when you go to the gym, once you exercise, you eat a certain way. Once you've done it for 3 months straight, you've just created a new habit, or 30 days, whatever. Everyone has the different timelines, right? Out there, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever. But how do we get ourselves out of this crazy burnout thing? Because now we think we have to live in it. We are accepting this as our new norm.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like you were talking about the fear mindset, there is a lot of uncertainty. And again, choosing those words really, really careful. Uncertainty doesn't necessarily have to be fear, but we have to be aware that we are not feeling 100%. And actually, for the last 9 months, we have been running on cortisol. So it really doesn't matter whether we had the lighting or could go outside, because our bodies were not thinking dopamine, endorphins. Even those people going outside for 30 minutes, that boost that a 30-minute walk or cycle or run would normally have produced was done in an environment where when you saw another person coming towards you, you suddenly were in fear of, oh my God, am I too close? Can I pass something on? Did they just cough? So suddenly even going outside doesn't have the benefits that it normally does. And so what's important for us now, and there's two things. The first is that we start to reestablish those habits that we had previously, or that we actually keep building on the ones that we have built during this time. So for me, I started to read again. It's usually my go-to to come out if I'm stressed. I'll start to build in more time for me to read and just kind of calm down. I've read a lot during this because that was my way of chilling out and relaxing and kind of escaping what was going on around you. Now, I'm an introvert, and I, when they said lockdown, I was like, piece of cake. I love recharging on my own. It's really not going to be an issue. And then
Yeah.
it's suddenly 15 weeks of lockdown alone. And it's suddenly like, I really don't like this. I'm not recharging properly because I'm missing the energy of being around other people. Yes, I miss the hugs from my nieces and nephews. I miss being able to hug my parents. You know, at the time, you know, I hadn't seen my parents in 4 months because they were overseas when all of this started. And slowly you start to get the little things again. So I was allowed to sit in the garden with at my brother's house, but I had to be 2 meters away from everybody else, like in the house. But the energy that came off, having a giggle, having a laugh, the kids drawing pictures, us sharing that time together was a huge boost for me. So you can imagine a couple of weeks later when we're allowed to, you know, we have what are called bubble households, where those of us that are single on the, you know, living alone, or single parents with children are allowed to combine with another household. And it just counts then as if we are one. So suddenly I'm allowed to hug my niece and nephew. You know, I can be in the house. I don't have to be 2 meters apart. We can sit on the sofa and have a beer, you know, normal things. But then when we go out and we meet my parents, they have to be 2 meters apart, or now a meter apart. And you can see how tough that is on them. There is nothing they want more than to be able to hug the grandchildren. Yet they know, because my mum is shielding to some extent, that actually it's in everyone's best interest if we don't. And so, but that's another one of those decisions. But we have the chance, you know, and a lot of people, you know, like we were saying, are now spending 24 hours a day with family. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't even choose to do that at Thanksgiving and Christmas. If you were a runner, you would be out running at least once or twice a day. If you know, if you enjoyed gaming, you would still find time to game. Do you know what I mean? It's like you would still keep up your normal life. Mm-hmm. And the problem was normal life changed. But what I've heard from a lot of people that I've spoken to is during this time, they have actually found things that are good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've sat down as families and had meals together. You know, people have been baking again, cooking together, cooking over Zoom. I mean, you know, people have found a way around it. People are more connected because they have had to FaceTime and Zoom and all these different things. And it's those things we don't want to lose when we come out of this.
So some of those of you guys who are out there with us live, and even you guys who watch us later, right? I challenge you right now, join us real quick and say one thing that you noticed that changed in the energy around you, like Sarah was talking about, if it was a good thing or a bad thing. And then I want you to bring in like that one great thing that you said, like one of these good things that you're noticing of how you've come closer. So everybody out there, go into the comments. We can bring them up. We can share them here. One of these things that you felt weird or awkward or something, or you noticed it changed, or the energy or how it made you feel. It made you feel isolated, right? It made you feel anxiety. It made you feel depressed. It made you feel good. Maybe you're an introvert and you finally said, thank you, I don't have to deal with the world. Praise the Lord, right? So what was it for you? But then let's talk about, and I want you to put one of those kinds of energy things of how you felt, the feeling, and then I want you to feel one good thing. Type it in. Let's collaborate here, everybody together, and let's share. And Sarah and I are going to see these comments later too. So as you guys share on Facebook and YouTube, on Enlightened Circles, on our proper pages, we'll be able to see them. And it's just more so we can all empower each other. And let's be real about our feelings and our emotions. And I love that you're bringing that up, Sarah, about how, you know, that meter apart, you had to have that distance, and there was that weird energy. And like the kids, I'm sure, what do? We train them and we say, go run and give grandma and grandpa a hug, and your auntie, there's your tia, you know, give her the love, give her the hugs. And then now we're like, no, don't touch them, don't wait until they're 14 days safe or something, you can't touch them, and we're not sure. And then the kid is like stuck between their intuition and what they feel they should be doing and what they feel is safe, which they're a lot smarter than us. Children are so much more smarter than us in so many different ways because their intuition is so innocent and it's so beautiful, and they're wanting to follow it, but they're having to deal with our fears and our anxieties and our burnout. Yeah. And that's a difficult place to be in. So what are some tools that like maybe you work with your clients as they're coming in, especially now during this whole COVID-19, and because you're a beautiful burnout recovery specialist strategist. And what I really love about Sarah, when we met, we were at this conference in India. She deals with people with so much love, so much insight, and you really do talk about your reason to breathe. It's not just about burnout. You talk about what's your reason to breathe. Even if you don't think you're on burnout, even if you're not a major depressed person, even if you don't have anxiety, but if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to find your reason, your format to breathe, that's one of those things Sarah works with people. So what would you say through this? How do we start to find our reason to breathe again and follow that intuition, like that innocent child that wants to go give the hug?
Yeah, so I will say that I never really understood the concept of find your why or start with why, like Simon Sinek says in the infamous TED Talk that's, you know, been seen millions of times. I just kind of, you know, my very logical brain went, no, why? I need to know how and what. That's it. Why? Forget it. Yeah. And then as I go through, you know, I go through my own crisis, I go through my own healing journey. Actually, that's, you know, the very tipping point for me was I watched a dying orphan breathe and realized just how much there was in my life to be grateful for and that I could do good for others. There was a reason for me having this journey. The reason for me to breathe was to make sure that other people would continue to, that they wouldn't end their lives, but they also would be able to take a deep breath. You know, that whole calming down and, you know, not stressing, that's become my journey around my reason to breathe. But then when you start to take that to the kind of the wider audience, is actually to say, you know, we all have a reason to breathe. Now, some people during COVID-19, that reason to breathe is just to live. To live one more hour, one more day. For others, like we've talked about, is, you know, I want to be able to hug my grandchildren. That is my reason to breathe. It's my reason to live. It's my why. It's my purpose. And so a lot of the work I do is trying to eliminate the stress, but by raising how happy we are and finding that purpose that does give you something that actually every decision can be taken in alignment with that. And so it's not, you know, it may be to, you know, feed 100,000 children. It could also be, you know, that you have a fun family life. You know, and that, so, you know, it's very different with each person. And I think it's also important to say, you know, because I do work with companies, that this isn't about everybody becoming entrepreneurs.
No, it's about living.
Yeah, there are people for whom the purpose, the reason to breathe is that 9 to 5 job. That is what they have always wanted to do. And that's never going to change. Now, they might be at the wrong company, you know, so we will look at values and beliefs and, you know, find a better environment for them to work in. Or it could be that they are absolutely the right company. They're just in the wrong job. You know, they came in at 21, straight out of college. They started working in marketing, for instance. And actually, you know, they're not necessarily the best marketing person, but they would make a fantastic salesperson. Or they're a communication specialist, but because opportunities haven't opened up, they've just gone onto a track and they've just kept going and worked through it because they don't want to be seen as trouble or different or open themselves up to fail, you know, in a new venture sort of thing. And so with all of this is really about, you know, saying to people, you know, you don't work every hour that, you know, that God gave us. That was never the intention. But if you are finding that you are because there is nothing else there, then we need to find your reason to breathe.
That's huge. That's important. I love that because it is important. It's like, I think, you know, some people have already found their reason to breathe in life, and it doesn't mean they're further along than somebody else. And remember, our reasons to breathe can change along midstream as well. I challenged you guys to put something negative maybe that you were feeling out there of the energies, like Sarah was sharing with us earlier, something positive. And Lisa shared negative was missing and craving that face-to-face time with friends, kind of what part of your negative was, right? And the positive was the gift of time to go within and do some healing, growing, and evolving. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. Yeah, that's and that kind of goes along even with what you're saying now at the end. So if I was kind of stressed out for the last 9 months, let's say, thank God I'm not. And I don't mean I'm perfect. I'm just saying, thank God I've not been completely stressed out for the last 9 months. Sometimes people think I'm a little too happy. And they're like, is this really real? Are you always this happy? I was like, you know what? Life is great. My reason to breathe is life. Like you're saying, my reason to breathe is to bring positivity to others. My reason to breathe is doing the energy healing work, being part of love in such a beautiful, fabulous way. And so for me, that's how I don't get burnout. That's how I'm not stuck in that major depression, because I have found that reason to breathe. And I've allowed it to adapt and change over time. But what are some tools and tips that you would say, like how Lisa's saying, I found the gift of time to go within and do some healing, growing, and evolving. As we're doing this healing, growing, and evolving, we're peeling back the layers, right? Like on, now that I can see the movie Donkey with Shrek, right? On Shrek, he's like, I'm like an onion. And he's like, what? And he's trying to figure it out. And he's like, well, yeah, they've got layers. And of course, I'm not quoting it word for word, right, guys? But, let's bring some laughter in here. It's like Shrek. And once we start to pull back the layers, and then, of course, Donkey's like, what about a cake? Cake's got layers too. Like, why an onion, right? But an onion, a flower, whatever it is that you have these layers, right? That you pull back one petal of the time to start to open your beautiful flower, to see the beautiful flower, not just concentrate on the onion of like, oh my God, I'm going to cut the onion and my eyes are going to burn. Start to figure out, what are you going to bake with it? What are you going to make with it? How is it going to be something beautiful, aromatic? How do we go in this time that we do get to do some growing and evolving to kind of maybe get us out of that burnout, get us into a better, energetic, positive place? What are some tips maybe you have?
So one of the first things I do with anyone that starts working with me is actually put joy and happiness back into their schedule. And that is actually going and writing a list of things that you may no longer be doing, but used to make you happy, used to bring you joy, used to make you laugh. And we'll go down, the track and say, you need to have some playlists. We all have these mobile phones. So you can actually carry a burnout first aid kit with you wherever you go. Have a YouTube playlist of videos that make you laugh until your face hurts.
I love that. A burnout playlist. I love that. To take that, and I see heart emojis going up too. So other people love it. A burnout playlist. I love this. This is great. Like you said, you carry it everywhere.
Exactly. And so, have a Spotify or iTunes playlist of music that makes you want to dance, that reminds you of really good times in your life. Album of photos of friends and family, or things that make you laugh. I have one meme that's of a penguin smacking another penguin into a hole in the water in the ice. It's like, I could literally watch this on a loop for like...
Hey, let's keep it positive here. Why are penguins smacking each other around, Sarah? Just kidding.
Because one of them's burnt out and the other one's the boss. So that's my interpretation of it. But, but it's things that, even as I'm talking to you, I'm already smiling. I can already feel that, whether it's a light topic or not, it's, I feel lighter for having done it. Now, imagine that you are always walking around with the option to laugh, sing, dance, smile, in your pocket. You come out of a bad meeting, you come off a bad call, and you just turn one of those songs on and you move your body. You watch a 5-minute YouTube clip of your favorite comedian, because it will switch you off from whatever it was that just happened. It's that, the adage of, oh, I'm just going to put the kids in front of the TV because I need 20 minutes on my own. Yeah, but make those 20 minutes count by watching something of your own, or, reading a book, or, and so, we have those playlists and we have that first aid kit, but it's also about putting things back into your life that used to make you happy, or things that you stopped doing when your job became the highest priority. So if you are finding that you are working longer and longer hours, then you can almost guarantee that something has given in your life, that what used to be a priority for you and is no longer, because you are committed, whether you know you are or not, to working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. So do you miss family dinners? Do you not go to the gym as often as you want to? Do you, do you have a better relationship with your coffee machine than you do with your wife, husband, partner, whatever? All of these are things that are very easy to switch, but they give you a huge difference, a huge balance, sort of rebalance in your hormones and in what your body is doing, that actually we can beat the effects of cortisol and stress by allowing ourselves to be a bit more happy.
I love that. Funny enough, you brought up like even the music a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about that and how to shift energies, and we were talking about like when you get ready in the morning and put the music on and just dance to it, move whatever moves you, right? And get that happiness, get that joy back that you deserve, and getting in contact. I also love that you talked about one big thing to put back into your agenda, your calendar, things that you stopped doing once you got super busy, that is now, because you're getting super busy because of the burnout, but you're also getting super busy because the energetic things you had, whether it be music, family, loved ones, whatever, are now not in your life as much. And they were your fuel. They were that energetic fuel and fire. And because you started going towards finances, towards business, towards whatever it might be, there's only so many hours in a day, right?
Yeah.
And you're already giving up more on sleep. Now you're not rested to be doing what you deserve to be doing. And when you start taking those things out that used to be your fuel, you're not going to work as effective. And you are going to have that increased cortisol level and adrenaline level. And the adrenaline, what happens when we have too much adrenaline and cortisol, anyways, we're going to crash. We're going to physiologically just eventually crash, whether it be immune system, body crash, disease come in, different things that happen, right? So we have that crash. But one of those main things we were talking about too last time is, and this is where it's kind of hard because COVID-19 has limited this part, but bringing that vacation back in. One of the big things I've seen with clients and different things this year, especially you guys, is a lot of you keep saying, well, my main thing or my goal or one of my rewards was my vacation because it's summertime and my kids were off of school. And this is where a lot of people say I didn't have to pull them out of school, whatever. And I planned my summer vacation, or I planned these vacations to be with kids. And now we just can't go anywhere. So how do we shift that idea, you guys? How do we start to make some fun at home? How do we start to do virtual vacations, or how do we start to do, now they're not stopping you from getting in a car and driving out to certain places. Now certain things have opened up. So how do you make these little mini vacations or other rewards that substitute for something you would have normally had? What are some thoughts on that? And you guys that are out there watching, listening, partaking, what are some of these rewards you're putting out there for yourself? Is it baking a cake? Is it, like you said, I love so many people are starting to cook together now via Zoom or YouTube or Messenger video chat. Everyone's using all the different video chat applications and stuff. And they're starting to connect and do things together, have wine parties. People are having wine parties virtually and sitting down and still having the conversations. So what are we doing to do different things? And what are some more tips for rewards that you can give? Because we are a reward-based society.
Yeah. So interesting ones that I heard of during COVID was, if you were somebody who used to go to the cinema or used to enjoy going to the theater, then you can still do that. And it's odd to do it this way. It's not a natural feeling. But what if 4 or 5 of you all get onto Zoom and you all watch the same movie at the same time?
Mm-hmm. On Netflix, whatever, Amazon
on
Prime.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber started to stream every week for like 48 hours on YouTube some of the biggest hits from the West End and Broadway.
Oh, wow.
So you could see the original Cats, the original Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Would you be able to go and see them at the theater? Some of these plays, no, because he was pulling up films that were taken maybe 10, 15 years ago, but people could still go to the theater. They could still have an experience. Now, it may not be exactly the same, but you can recreate it. You just have to be creative about it. So, a friend of mine, her family, there's 4 of them, I think. And they were getting into a bit sort of samey all the time. There wasn't anything to look forward to. And one of the kids said, right, we're going to take care of Friday night. And they had made tickets for cinema. They were still going to be sat in the lounge. They were just made popcorn pots. They made tickets. Everybody went and got dressed up. Just because we don't have to go out and we can live in our pajamas, or, I was on a virtual networking, which was a crazy concept for me, even as it started, but I had a fabulous, met some amazing people, connected with people I would never have met normally. And at the end, they asked us, well, what was different? And one of the ladies said, she was like, I went to a networking event, I met some amazing people, and I didn't have to put Spanx on to do it. I was like, got it. I didn't have to put heels on. I could be in my bare feet or, in my slippers. And so it's looking at things like that say, how could we do this at home? How could we do this in a really fun and creative way? And so, one of my clients, he did his list of things that he enjoyed doing and he didn't do an awful lot of. And one of those was scuba diving. He used to go away 2 or 3 times a year, go scuba diving. Now, there's not a lot you can do in a flat or an apartment that will give you the same kick as jumping off a boat and scuba diving for an hour or so. It's just not going to work. And it's that you can't sit on your wetsuit on the sofa and watch a YouTube video of fish. It's like, no, that is not what we're talking about. However, what we got him to do was actually to plan scuba diving trips.
Yeah.
Where did he want to go? Where would he fly into? How long would it take? Where would he stay? Which company would he use in these different places? Who would he be traveling with? So he actually gets the anticipation of this trip. And actually a lot of the chemicals that we benefit from come from the anticipation of going on holiday and not actually from the stress of having to travel 24 hours to get to Bora Bora to then scuba dive for a few hours and then do it all the way back. It's biohacking our bodies and our brain to say, plan those vacations, create vision boards, cut out pictures of the fish you're going to see and the hotel you're going to stay in and the massage you're going to order. Create a visual of it and put it on your phone so that when you are feeling down or you want to, 10 minutes to just calm and, chill and want something to look at, pull up your scuba diving board, pull up your reading list. It's all ways of just giving yourself that escape. So, yeah, if you have a family and you have kids and there's nowhere for you to go, then why not create a list of places you would like to when we're all free and able to go anywhere? And each person gets to choose one thing to do at each of those places. There is ways to have an experience without actually having to leave the house or spend any money.
I love that. I love the ideas. I've also been something to add to that. I've also been saying, make a list of magical moments. Like go back to your childhood and youth, maybe. And hopefully all of you had a positive, beautiful childhood and youth. That's my prayers for you. But if you didn't, you knew of somebody and maybe there was these desires that you heard. So whether you get it from your own positive childhood and youth, whether you get it from somebody else's youth, or you heard that so-and-so got to have this dream vacation and you didn't, I would say go back to this and create a magic list. Because if you are people that have children in your house, how many times have you now, as busy adults, the way that our world has come to and everything else, and remember, you're on burnout right now. If you've been on burnout, if you've been having the depression, anxiety, come back to your childhood as well. don't you remember making forts in the living room and your parents putting up the sofa cushions and you were so excited as a child to go under there and different things? Like one of the things I did is I had just got an outdoor sofa during this whole thing, an outdoor patio chair, right? I laid down some extra tile I had out on my patio and put a couch kind of thing out there in an L shape. But I saved the box, the big box that it came in, and I made a house for my niece out of it. And thank God, because I knew it was big enough, because I knew the next thing was going to be is that she's going to tell me to go in there with her. So it was big enough for an adult to crawl in. And so I cut the front part as a door. I cut her a little window. I put ribbons so she can close the door from the inside. She could pull the door open. I cut windows on all sides. Even the door had a window. So if you want to knock, she could push the door open. And I am telling you, I spray painted it gold. I was thinking, I'm going to make every little princess or prince deserves a magical kingdom, right? So I went and bought gold spray paint. I spray painted it white first, and then I did gold spray paint to make it just a magical little kingdom and put some pretty ribbon and did this little thing. And now all of the kids go over and it's the one thing they all want to jump in. And thank God I fit in there with them as well, or other adults fit in with them. And we all get to go in and have this little magical place. So now they could put their pillows and their blankets and read stories. And we forget that we had such magical things that happened when we were little, and we're thinking like adults, and we're thinking of adults and burnout, and we forget there's a magic. There's a magic about our enlightened circles. There's a magic we held within that gave us the stamina to want to get married, to want to have kids, to want to get education, want to start a trade skill, want to eat healthy. There is a magic that happens some point when we were little with our enlightened circles within. So I say, create your little magical list, your enlightened circle list of happiness, joy, like you're saying, bring that back in. And so it doesn't hurt you to go back to those youthful places in your life when you had those kinds of things. If it's your first kiss that you had, go recreate that moment maybe, but now recreate it with your wife, your husband, your spouse, your partner, your lover, so that you're having some kind of magical moment, even at home or now that restaurants are opening up. So you get to have new magic at this stage in your life, and we're not facilitating ourselves around burnout anymore. And now we have our reason to breathe. Now we have our reason to breathe again in a whole new magical, uplifting, joyous format. And then guess what? We're not on that stressful path. It gives us that recharge, that battery recharge. I like to think of Iron Man. And you know how Iron Man, after when he goes over, he has to have the device, right, to keep himself charged and everything else. Allow this your reason to breathe to be that energy source. Allow your reason to breathe in that magical, beautiful, enlightened way. Recharge your energy so that you're not there in that burnout anymore, Sarah, what have you seen, like, as I know some of the results I've seen, but what are some of the results? You can always talk about your own, because you were major HR, global HR for a huge company. And then, like you said, then you end up seeing this infant in an orphanage dying. And that was what gave you your why. Like, I understand my reason to breathe, and my reason to breathe is to assist others to find their reason to breathe. How do you see, once people start to find their reason to breathe, what are the transformations? Like, people always ask, like, what's my return on investment? How soon can my life change? Is it going to be a long process? Is it going to be a short process? I always say that depends on you. It depends on each individual person, first of all, to me, in my mind, right? But what do you see as transformations that have occurred, some of these beautiful success stories, as people find the reason to breathe?
I just want to touch on one thing. It's the muscle memory that you created as a child for those activities that you would run home from school, drop your school bag, that there was the one thing that you wanted to do, that you would do your homework, you would do your chores because you wanted to. And how do you finish that sentence? For me, I always wanted to read a book. So I would do anything I had to just be able to go to my bedroom or to go out in the garden with a book and actually just read and read and read. And when I was kind of at the height of my burnout, and I have that epiphany moment, I find my reason to breathe. My coach at the time, he and I kind of went through it, and I was like, you know what? I haven't read a book in 3 years. This is from the girl who was the self-proclaimed bookworm for most of her school years and had books everywhere. There were bookcases in my room. I lived in a house that had bookcases in every single room. You know, books were a huge part of my life. And gradually, as I had got more and more burnt out, the books just stayed on the shelf. There were no books by my bed. There, you know, as a child, there were 6 or 7 because I couldn't just read one. You know, I had to read like lots. And so what we get to now is to say, well, you know, let's flip it on its head and say, how much longer can you live like this before you make these changes? So that return on the investment for me was the difference between another 5 weeks of living, because that's all I had left.
Yeah.
On the day that my life changed and I found my reason to breathe, I had just over 5 weeks until the date I had chosen that I would end my life. Now that was 5 years ago. You know, 5 weeks to 5 years, you know, there's a return on investment for you. For other people, you know, it's the fact that they're still married. It's the fact they have a relationship with their kids. In a lot of cases, it's the fact that they now have a dream that is worth living for. And whether that's them personally, or they've now structured their business around a passion, a purpose, they now work with different people, you know, making sure that every day is absolutely the best it can be is the biggest return on investment you can get. And if that takes you 3 months, 6 months to put in place the things that will last you for the rest of your life, you know, you do not get to that point. You know, there are research, there are studies done. What do people regret most at the end of their life? Not spending time with family, not having experiences, the questions unanswered and the experiences not taken, the decisions not made. And all of the work that I do with people is actually to say, stop. There's not time for that now. To say, you know, there are things that can happen like COVID-19 that doesn't guarantee that you have another 30 years. You know, tomorrow is never promised to anybody. But if you are reasonably healthy and you're genetically, you know, there's not a lot in your family bloodline or whatever, then, you know, you're looking at 60, 70 years. Wouldn't you want them to have each of those to have purpose?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and we have a whole generation now of, you know, the kids that will have gone through COVID. You know, schooling will change for them. A lot more of them will have experienced happy parents. For some of them, they'll actually have experienced parents. You know, they won't have been in childcare. They won't have been looked after by an au pair or nanny. Their parents will have been at home. They'll be homeschooled, which will have tested most families, you know, even with intelligent parents, you know. Teachers train for 4 to 5 years to be able to teach school. You know, nobody, you know, parents who are trying to do it alongside a job, that's a whole new, you know, role in itself. But what will the children remember? They will not remember that mum got really stressed because she couldn't do long division, or dad didn't know anything about, you know, I know, the War of Independence. They will remember all being sat around the dinner table, going for a walk, all 4 of you, you know, having fun, you know. You know, I went to stay with I went to see my brother at the weekend, and the kids had spent the week making a piñata. You know, they normally make them for their like birthdays or something, but they hadn't done it in a while. And we had a ghost piñata styled, you know, similar to Pac-Man, I think. And for 5 minutes, they bashed this thing with a plastic tube and my brother, because the string didn't really work. But that's another story. You know, but the kids will remember that evening in the garden bashing the crap out of a ghost with a stick more than they will remember, you know, that everything was built around mum had to work in the morning, dad had to work in the afternoon, everything was on Zoom, we couldn't meet our friends. It's, you know,
Anna, I like that you're putting that into perspective, because I think like bringing the innocence of the child mind and how they're going to remember these beautiful, sweet moments. Yet we're stuck on in the adult mind remembering the bitter moments. So I'm going to challenge every one of you out there, as Sarah was saying earlier, one of the ways to bring in, get out of burnout, change your strategy, change your story, is bringing that joy back in, bringing what brings joy back into your life. And I know, and I'm not saying all parents, adults are not seeing this. I'm just saying we've kind of been stuck because of media and everything else that we keep watching. We're stuck in that energy, right? And yet so many of us are starting to see like, hey, I had a piñata that normally I wouldn't do. I'm usually trying to push the craft and make it happen before the birthdays. But now because we have more time together and we've pretty much watched every movie on Netflix now, I need to start thinking of different things. People are bringing board games back, right? With families, where when you bring the board games, TVs are off, you're spending more time, you're engaging in conversation. Now you're starting to find out about what might be going on in your children's, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whoever's life. You might be playing a puzzle or a board game with your grandparents. And a lot of times we started to get disconnected as busy adults in society from our grandparents, which have so many beautiful, amazing lessons of life and wisdom to share with us that can bring us back to our roots and foundation. And by doing this, we have that blessed time with them prior to them leaving this world. You think about it. I saw my grandfather, who's 94. He's my last living grandparent. My other one died at 95. So they're the ones that have seen like World War II, seen computers come in. Think about how they've lived through the which flu was it? The
Spanish
pandemic.
flu.
Yeah, the Spanish flu. I was like ready to say. I was like, did I just catch the right one? Spanish. They've lived through all of these different. There's so many flus now. Which one are we in right now? Yeah, and this is a flu type thing as well, right? So they've lived through these kinds of pandemics. This is their second pandemic that they're seeing. So we have so much knowledge, wisdom to gain from them as well. But we don't know how long they're going to be here. We don't know how long any of us are going to be here. So that being said, not knowing how long we're going to be here, that's why Sarah and I wanted to really come in and talk about, what's your reason to breathe? What's your reason to breathe? We see life being taken away at a very young age, even before birth. Many people have passed on prior to even birth. We see people in car accidents. We see so many different things happen along the way, whether it be illnesses, accidents, whatever. You know, it might be old age, it might be cancer, whatever it might be. But in between then, the time you're born, conceived and born, to the time you die, life happens. Life is a journey. So what's your reason to breathe along the way? How do you choose to breathe and make your enlightened circles be as positive, as lighted as they deserve to be? And that's what we wanted really to share with you guys tonight, and be bringing this together in beautiful ways so that maybe you guys would be inspired to change your ways so that you get more in touch with your reason to breathe. And like Sarah says, bring in, like you said, the joy and the positivity. Bring those in and you'll start to avoid the burnout. You'll start to, because you're trying to prevent. We don't need to get to the burnout stages. We don't deserve to be there. So if you're already feeling something coming on, that anxiety, that depression, that stress, whatever it might be, it doesn't need to run its full course all the way to burnout. And that's why people like Sarah work with Your Reason to Breathe. And that's where she has it, because she found hers and tries to inspire others. But then you said also the things you stopped doing because of this burnout or something, start to incorporate them back into your life. They'll make you happier. They'll make you like smile again. But any other kind of like leaving thoughts or heartfelt emotions or something, Sarah, because you have so much every time we talk, or you share, or you talk with so many different communities, you're on stage, you do so many different things with Your Reason to Breathe. What are any other inspiring thoughts that you'd love to share with us this evening? Not just because of COVID-19, not just because of the 9 months that we've already been going through chaos, but just through general in life, so we prevent from getting to burnout.
I think the biggest one is really to trust your body and the energies that you are feeling. So, as I was going through my process, my body was giving me signs, and when I'm on stage, I'll often get people to pick up their phone and ask people how quickly they would actually panic if their battery got to like 5% or went red. And most people are then like, they want the power pack, they want to plug the phone in, they've got to recharge. I mean, you can also go with, well, how soon would you put gas in your car? If you're like me, it gets below half a tank, you're probably looking for the next gas station because you don't like to be that reckless. Or you have people a bit more like my brother, for instance, who, there's a gauge on the car that says, 10 miles to the next, fill up, and he'll try and get to the gas station at 0.1 miles. You should put some gas in this car, so people do. And this is kind of the whole resilience thing. My resilience around gas in my car is not particularly big. I don't want to be stranded on the side of the road and it be because I don't have gas. And then, my phone, it's probably always around 40, 50%. If it gets low, then I will charge it. But when my body started to give me the same signals, migraines, sinus infections, backache, just completely ignored them. And I kept ignoring them. So I went from migraines once a month to once a week to 25 days a month. And by then I was completely burnt out, depressed, stressed, and had decided to end my life. And that's not, my body was talking to me 2.5, 3 years earlier that I needed to make changes in my life. So, people often say, well, how will I know? Well, actually, we have a quiz on the website at yourreasontobreathe/quiz, where we ask you 15 questions. And they are all red flags around areas of your life that you may be burning out in. And if you actually go through, it's an indicator for you to say, well, how bad is it? Now, I always say when if I had done that quiz at the point where I was burnt out and made that decision to end my life, I would have ticked 14 out of 15. And I would only have ticked 14 because I didn't know 15 existed. So it would have been 14 out of 14 at that point. But it's also good to do this every sort of couple of months just to see where you are. If I start to feel a little off, I'll just go and do the quiz again. And then you go, oh, yeah, I'm not sleeping properly. Oh, I've started like eating a lot of sugar again. Or, yeah, I'm pulling back. I'm not engaging with people. All of which are indicators that my body needs me to work in those particular areas. But it just comes from trusting your body. So if that cold won't go away, that pain in your back is always there no matter what you do, the migraines are getting more, frequent, then listen to your body, because it is telling you not just that you are in pain and something is, yes, something is wrong. It's telling you that because there's an energy imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. I love that you have the quiz. Everybody, again, she said yourreasontobreathe.com/quiz. Right? Okay, so /quiz, add that on to what's yourreasontobreathe.com, or just go to the general page. You'll be able to find it. You'll be able to find it through the menu and through everything there as well. Have faith, guys. I know you can do it. All of you guys can do Google as well. I have faith in you. But it's true, because it's something I do with Enlightened Circles, right? And with the energy. And we can really tap in once we start to know our body language, our angel language, our vibrational language, how it all interacts with us, because everyone uses different words, right? Our light language, angel language, talking to our spirit guides, but talking to our body, knowing really who you are, knowing what you are, knowing how your body really is acting with you, interacting with you, or not acting with you, right? I love that Sarah has a quiz. You guys can go, you can try it, you can figure it out, but also tune into that energy, into that intuition. And right now, with everything that's been going on, right, with COVID-19 in the media, we're all stuck in the media And we've been not paying attention to our intuition. We've been disconnecting from, we've been like deprogrammed from being connected with our intuition of telling us what might be right, what might be wrong, what might be truth, what might be not. I'm not getting political. I'm not getting conspiracy. That I'm talking in generalities, everybody. We have disconnected from knowing our energies. And so many of you are going into this whole awakening time. It's a beautiful process, and we're going into a whole new beautiful awakening period and getting in touch with our bodies. So if you're a linear thinker, if you're not a person who's so in touch with your body yet, and you're not sure why you're getting headaches, why you're getting this, why you're going that, go to yourreasontobreathe.com/quiz, take the quiz. You can go to Enlightened Circles. You guys can find me as well. We want to inspire you to find people that work with you, people that work for you, find inspirational people or formats or platforms or Google search it, whatever, so that all of you start to get these tips and tools to re-empower yourself to knowing your body, what's going on with it. Because so many times, I can't tell you, I worked with somebody else the other day and their neck was hurting them. We were able to go in, and being the medical medium, where I was able to see what's been going on in their life and assist them in understanding what the energetic blockages have been that has been creating that neck pain, that neck ache, the kidney pain, like you're talking about, the knee pain. Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? Is it physical? There's different things that manifest within each one of us, and each one of you have that power to tap into it, figure it out, and overcome it. Yes, there's pathophysiological things that happen as well, but there are a lot of things that manifest within us that migraines can really go away in 5 minutes. And I've worked on many people with this technique, and they're like, I've had migraines. I've been having this headache all day, or for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. I'm like, okay, you got 5 minutes? We get in there and we deal with it, and then it's gone. And they're like, how the heck did that just happen? Because we found the source. We found the key source. We got you in touch with your body energy, like Sarah's saying. So definitely go to Your Reason to Breathe. You guys know where to find me on enlightencircles.com. Go to yourreasontobreathe.com and find the beautiful, amazing Sarah Ross with Your Reason to Breathe, and find your reason to breathe. But I love that you have this tool and this quiz. So /quiz, at least take the quiz if you guys are having these kinds of things going on. She's got great options there and answers for you so that you can reset. So Sarah, I know that it's super early your morning, or what kind of person you are, and you kind of end up being both. Sometimes you're that night owl that goes into the super early morning, and sometimes you're that super early morning that has the long day. So it's either the late night or super early morning for you in the UK. But I appreciate you coming on and being here with us, everyone. Rosita had put up her comment earlier. I put it up because it was going along with what you were saying as well, about she loves reading, and that was her. That's what she had stopped as well when she was going crazy and working a job that sucked her dry. And she says, yes, absolutely. My body and intuition know. Sadly, I used to ignore it too. So I just want to put that up. I put it up earlier, but I want to bring that in because Rosita's also confirming what we say. Don't ignore your bodies. Don't ignore your intuition. Instead, and don't ignore the fact that maybe each one of you, in your own different way, you might be going towards burnout. You might be having depression, anxiety, different things going on in your life. Understand it, know it, accept it, acknowledge it, so that therefore you can work through it and you can work out of it. And Sarah gave us some lovely tips, like bring the joy and the happiness back in different ways that it was for you. And you were talking about, what are your rewards? What have you cut out of your life that you're not doing anymore? Bring that back in. And she's got this fabulous quiz for us all. So Sarah, thank you for sharing your love. Thank you for sharing your light. And thank you for sharing your reason to breathe. Your reason to breathe. Thank you for being there that day and before your 5 weeks was up. Thank you for being there that day and having that experience with that orphan, as that orphan was having those breaths that moved you to find your reason to breathe so you could be here for each one of us. Because I know, to me, since we've ever met, you've been an amazing, beautiful blessing in my life. And I found a soul sister and somebody you can talk real and frank with, And so I love it. I love it. I love it. Rosita's saying, get powerful women to help you get back on track. Definitely, always. And, you know, I think it's lovely when you get to find beautiful, powerful soul family, however you might find them. But I feel honored that you're part of my soul family. And I feel honored that you're part here, part of Enlightened Circles, to extend the soul family into Enlightened Circles. And you guys, if you want to get a hold of Sarah, get in contact with her. 5 weeks can be 5 years plus. So there's a lot of lessons here today. There's a lot of inspiration. And we'll leave you all with that, with your beautiful reason to breathe. And a lot of love to every single one of you guys tonight and tomorrow and whenever you watch this. And we're waiting to watch your later that come up. Night, guys. Have
Take
fun.
care.